Hey, how it's going, guys? In this video, I'm going to explain MCP, Model Context Protocol. Recently, I took a session or workshop on Model Context Protocol, and in the process of taking that workshop, I was preparing for the session, and I created an entire kind of a short crash course kind of a thing. So that's what I'm going to cover in this video, and I wanted to put that on my YouTube channel. So let's jump in and see what we want to do here. So if you look at here on my screen, there's a PPT PowerPoint presentation called MCP in action from architecture to implementation. I already have a video on my channel, like a playlist on MCP, but this is going to be a lengthy video because I want to explain or cover this entire thingy, MCP in action, from architecture to implementation, right? You can see there are 23 slides. I have prepared some demos. We're going to run some codes and also see the ecosystem around MCP, right? When I was like presenting this, the first session, and if you want to read about it, I also have a post. This is what now you can find it on my LinkedIn, where you can see an N10 backdrop here in the background. This happened in one of the organization in Hyderabad where we kind of they were very kind to give us space, to do these meetups and working sessions, and you can see the audience in good numbers, right? I was presenting it over there, a very hands-on session on MCP, and I've written it over here that what I covered in this entire workshop. Now, this is what I'm going to replicate over here, pretty similar stuff, right? Why we are here, right? That was the opening slide. And you can see it says the person who uses AI will take your job. This gentleman, this guy, I love this guy, really inspired by him. He is uh, founder and CEO or president. He's everything, right? At NVIDIA. NVIDIA is one of the most critical, I'll say, it's really critical for this entire AI ecosystem because they kind of build the infrastructure, right, for the AI community, or AI as a technology that we are currently using, building tools and building models, and so on and so forth. He's one of the important guys right over there. So Hansen Huang, okay, Jensen Huang, however we pronounce here, this guy, he had this quote where, I'm just re-quoting him. He said that the person who uses AI will take your job because see, not everyone will kind of train foundational models or gonna create models like GPTs and Geminis and Claudes of the worlds, right? People will be probably building tools or building software systems, etc., on top of it, right? Using those models, and we should know how to use AI rather than only building it, because in future people are saying that AI is going to take over humans and it's going to take a lot of jobs. Okay, I'm not sure if it's going to take over humans, but of course, definitely it's taking over jobs, a lot of jobs. So that's for the opening slide, just to inspire people in the audiences, probably not required for people who already have been working in this field. Now, this is an important slide which says ecosystem design, because if you see how it all started, if you see that right now, they were models. It's not that we suddenly saw a model coming up that can generate text. Even before uh, the large language models of the world, or which came in late 2021 or something, 21, 22, after the rise of Chat GPT, we had models that used to kind of generate you know tokens, but in the small numbers. It's not like that it can understand and generate a hell lot of tokens, right? That was not the case. But I tried to basically create this a very simple table to explain you, right? Now, application layer is something where end user kind of interacts. Now, the application layer can be where you have an interface, like let's say Chat GPT as an application layer. When Chat GPT came in, when did it come? I completely forgot. 21 or 22, something around that time. Now, when OpenAI created Chat GPT, even though there was a model called GPT-2 before that, right, which kind of not generating not we're not generating lengthy text, but the model was there. So when OpenAI created ChatGPT. People kind of really liked it because it has an user interface. Of course, it was minimal. It's still minimal, right? And then we saw a lot of tools like ChatGPT, and after that we saw Perplexity and the rise of Claude, so on and so forth, right? Those were all application, okay, where you have an UI layer, uh, where user can interact. Now these can be nowadays this can be categorized into different categories. One can be user interfaces for building, acting as a virtual assistant or a chatbot, right? Like ChatGPT. On the other side, it can be agentic IDEs like Cursor, Windsurf, clients, and VS Code, which has all the support now, right? VS Code, originally it's not an agentic IDEs. We have been using it for years, but it has all the support that all other agentic IDEs that I just named right now. Those are also part of application. We interact with those in some capacities, right, through an interface, through chat mode and whatnot. So these are all application layer. That's on the top layer. If you talk about from an user experience standpoint, which I believe is really important, then is the agent now, because most of these new world applications are powered by agents in the background or in the backend. So they have some kind of agents integrations, that agents are kind of performing all the tasks that we want them to perform through that interface. So agent, like, let me give you an example. Like, let's say Notebook LM, okay, where Notebook LM by Google can do cutting edge research, right? And because it's all powered by agents. Same goes with GPT, Chat GPT, where we have models like O3 coming up, which act like a pro consultant, coming from McKinsey and Gartners of the world, right? So those are on the still on the very chat kind of a setup. The same happens where you want to perform a specific task. Let's say you want to create a website or a web application through an agent, right? So we have tools like Replit Agent, we have like Lovable, Bold.new, and so on and so forth. Divine, who can forget? They fooled the entire world, they said. So Divine, so those on the agent part, which have agent has three things, right? Let me show you. So here you can see this is how we can define a simple agent, AI agent rather, or even if I go deep down, LLM based agent. Okay, because agent can be defined as on higher level. We can categorize that into multiple categories. Agent is not new, right? We have been seeing different types of agents earlier as well. So agent, where we have defined processes, where we give set of inputs, instructions, and it follows it, right? Kind of a workflow. And of course, it can do back and forth. That's what AI agent is. We are also heading towards agentic AI, where it will have full autonomy, right, about certain things. So that's the one thing. So if you look at here, an agent has these three things. If you have in your agentic, or I'll say agent workflow, you you need an LLM, because we're talking about LLM based agents. So we need a model that can understand, generate text, tokens, different modalities, let's say audio, videos also, that is fine. OpenAI chat model in this case. And then it should have a memory. Memory is the most important thing. There are two types of memory: short-term context and long-term context. This is not a memory class, so I'm just keeping it very short. But memory is the most important thing for an agent. And if we have to say that, okay, AI agent will take over a lot of jobs, or they're really doing good. Agent has tendencies, or tendency of, they keep on forgetting things because the memory is not that good. Memory is nothing but kind of a database, let's say, in simple terms, right? So there's a memory, and the calculator is, like here in this case, is a tool. Agent has access to tool. It can access to one tool or multiple tools at the same time. Let's say you want to build AI agent that can fetch weather information, so you need a weather API as a tool. And let's say calculator, so you need calculator tool. Let's say you want to connect with your calendar, so you will use calendar as a tool. So an agent has three things. It has a chat model, it has a memory, it has a calculator. So for example, let's say I click on open chat. By the way, this is an n10 workflow. N10 is a no code, low code tool, completely a no code, not even low code. N10 is a no code automation platform to build AI based automation, or in general just automation workflows. So let's say if I ask here, what is 2 plus 2, and you can see everything is running. And you can see even OpenAI can answer this. Calculator has been used. You can see all green. Everything has been used, and it says 2 plus 2 is 4. Now I'm going to ask, what is AI? You will see the calculator will not be used. Agent will not use calculator because that's not required in this case. And it's just going to answer based on the model. You can see it says AI refers to the simulation of human intelligence in machines that are programmed to think and learn. So an agent has these three things. They are not mandatory. You need an LLM. Memory is really good to have. I'll say must to have if you're building high performant agent. And of course, you need multiple tools to build it. And these tools can be MCPs as well. So I'm going to talk about that in a bit. So agent we talked, which has LLM prompt tools. Now LLMs, the engine behind all these things. LLMs like GPTs, Claudes, and of course you can add the versions like 3, 3.5, 4, 4.1, 4.5, blah blah blah, and Gemini, Grok, etc. So LLM that can handle language understanding and that can generate. So LLM application agent LLM. We're just going from top to bottom, right? Tools, I just talked about tools. Now, these tools can be anything. This can be either a very simple Python function that can be, you know, as I said, Python function or any other languages. You can also write functions that can become a tool. You can deploy it on your remote server or anywhere, and you can use that as an API endpoint. That also becomes a tool. The tools can be MCP servers as well, Model Context Protocol. We're going to talk about it. Tools can be any one of these things that will be used by agents to perform some kind of task. They will use that tools to kind of use as a data source. That's what a tool is, and you can see it over here. Now, these four are kind of everybody's talking about it, and you probably, if you're working in the field, you know what I'm saying. But then there is protocol. Now, if you look at protocol, this is what really important for this video to understand. Now, it's glue between components, and we're going to talk about protocols. There are different types of protocols. Like, let's say there are one agent and there are 10 different tools. How does the agent communicate with these 10 different tools? There will be a set of protocols that we have to follow. Like, let's say we go to college, we go to schools, or we go to work, anywhere, right? We have set of protocols defined. Maybe in these places protocols might be named as policies, but protocols are really different than policies when it comes to building agents. Policies are like, we're talking about security, so I'm not gonna go about confusing between policies and protocols, but there are set of protocols that we all follow in our daily life, right? Or in general. So that's what agent also has to do when it's communicating with tools. So agent to tool is one thing. Now let's say there are 10 different agents. It's a multi-agent system. One agent, second agent, third agent. So the multiple agent, it can be in order, or it can be like, it does not have to be in order, right? That they have to follow or they have to communicate. But agent to agent, how will it communicate? There should be some protocols. Or app to it. Let's say there are some app which are already built and you want your agent to access those app. How does it communicate? So agent to app communications. So there can be n number of things, n into m, that we can say. Now there are protocols, and that's what we're going to talk about, this MCP, model context protocol. Then we have A to A protocol, and then we have agent to ACP, agent communication protocol. We're going to talk about all those things in bit. So you can see MCP, A2A, HTTP when you are kind of working with REST APIs, right? Or some sort of APIs, that works on HTTP and whatnot on web. They also follow certain protocols, right? So there are protocols. Now we have memory. So memory is the most important, as I said, short-term plus long-term context. There are a lot of tools available for building memories like mem0, open memory, so on and so forth. I already have a video on open memory. Please check that out. But I'm not going to talk about memory. That requires another video to to cover that. Now the pain and purpose. Why are you watching this video? As I said, this is going to be a lengthy video, but if you watch this video, you will have a really good understanding of MCP. So if you look at here, the pain and purpose, it's really important. It has to be purpose driven, right? Most of the time, I will say what we are doing, it has to be purpose driven. So let's say I'm working for an organization and my manager comes to me, or my senior coach, whoever, comes to me and says, hey, look, there is a client who has a requirement for building a chatbot. And I'll be again very happy because everybody is building a RAG system or a chatbot right now in the industry. People are building agentic RAG as well, and let's say so. Let's say my manager comes to me and says, "Hey, you have to do that." But okay, and I'm gonna ask about, okay, tell me the requirements. He's gonna, of course, give me a project PRD document, project requirement document. But let's say if he says, okay, there are 100 tools, like in enterprises, in bigger organizations, there are a lot of tools or softwares or enterprise applications that we work with. Like let's say there is SAP systems, there is Oracle system, there is SharePoint, there is Confluence, there is Jira, there is Teams, and there are time sheets, etc. Okay, and hundred of tools. How do we build such system? Now the task is to connect with all these data sources and build a RAG tool that will answer whatever I've been asking, right? Now, as if there is no MCP, what I have to do in that case, I have to write code or I have to program, you know, that will use their APIs if APIs are available, REST APIs are available, or any other way of integrating with such data sources. I have to take care of them individually, and I have to write set of programs for each of those tools or softwares or applications, whatever we name it. It becomes a pain in the neck, right, to do that. And you can see on the right hand side, API, API, API. So that's the main important thing, guys. You have to understand why do we need MCP at the first place in very layman terms, to just mitigate the challenges of interoperability. Okay, and I'm going to talk about that in the next slide. Let me just go. We already talked about AI agent ka thing, where we have an LLM, memory, and tools. But let me just go here to show you the need for protocols, right? Interoperability. One agent, many tools. Now, in that case, the 100 tools that I talked about, that's a big problem, right? Why MCP matters, why we're working with it. Loose coupling, replace any part independently, as you can see, right? Let's say we don't want to work with one of the things, so we can just get rid of it, right? Just remove the MCP server from the loop. And, it has an unified interface or a standard interface, to kind of work with, uh, you know, uh, work in that project or something. So it has easy integration. Now, we can say, then why don't we just use HTTP, right? Because as I said, APIs, right? We have been working. You can see REST and GraphQL are stateless, rigid, just like a walkie-talkie. When we say on the walkie, when we are saying anything, it has to first complete send that data. What I said. If I you know just interrupt and say something again, nothing will go or reach to the receiver, right? So it's something like that. MCP is stateful. It understand, it has the context, it's context aware, it's stateful, it's dynamic and built for AI. That's why, see, it can be said it's a glorified HTTP, in a way, but it's built for agents and tools, the way APIs were built for web, right? That's why we need MCP. And coming back here I come up to the pain and purpose, that MCP is the USB-C of AI, right? We have been saying, it's USB-C, it's a standard protocol that let AI agent plug into any data source or tool. That's what it does. You can see it over here. It says scalable way for AI to access tools, data reduce N into M. Remember I told you agent tools, agent, and agent app. So it reduces the N into M integrations and gives you the real context. Also has an indirect relationship with hallucination, I will say. LLM has the tendency of hallucination. That's why we started working with RAG, because it has grounded generation technique. So now we are also going towards MCP because it can bring more tools and context into your AI applications that can reduce hallucination, right? So that's the one thing. So it says USB-C. That's what Anthropic has to say about MCP. Now, going back to academics, if you look at here, because MCP, Model Context Protocol, is based on nothing but JSON RPC 2.0. But before we talk about JSON RPC 2.0, we will look at your RPC, remote procedure, right? So remote procedure, you would have heard about gRPC, right? It's by Google, remote procedure. You can see JSON RPC and JSON RPC 2.0. Nothing fancy, Not a lot of difference between these two here. It just has improved, of security, I will say a bit, because it has parameters, headers, naming conventions, so on and so forth. You can send more headers, when we are passing data. So if you talked about this, right, include standard input output, system.out, when we used to learn C, C++, and Java in our academics, right? This is how we used to, work. But if you look at this VS Code icon here, why I have it, because VS Code uses RPC, just an RPC. Whenever you write a code in VS Code and hover over a class, right, it immediately fetches the class documentation or information about class, or when you hover it, it brings up, information about that Python code or functions or any other languages, because it uses language server protocol, right? LSP, yes. It uses language server protocol, which is built on JSON RPC, the way data is being exchanged. So this is what it has been built on. Okay, I talked about it. A very high level overview of MCP. You can see MCP host, Claude desktop, IDE, and AI agents. These are all MCP host which has MCP client inbuilt capabilities. Like, let me show you that. I'll show you once I cover this architecture. Now in between we have an MCP server. MCP server has three things. It has tools, resources, and prompts. You can define prompts, you can define resources, you can define tools, and these can connect with these databases, external applications, file systems, so on and so forth. Over here, this is how you can see the data has been passed, just an RPC between an MCP server and an MCP client, right? So an MCP client or a host can be agentic IDEs like Cursor, Windsurf, or also VS Code or anything like the Tray, for example, by ByteDance. AI agent, we can build our own client in Streamlit using, or any other thing, Fast MCP, Golf MCP, so on and so forth. And Claude Desktop. Let me show you one thing here. Now I opened Claude Desktop here that you see. Now this is how it looks like. I already have an MCP server here. If you look at your search and tools, if you click on here, it shows web search, and you can see I'm using Tavelai. If you click on it, it has Tavelai search and Tavelai extract. Let me ask a question. Okay, who won the? No, I'm not gonna. What should I ask here? What's the recent? Uh, okay, what happened in the war between Iran and Israel uh, a few days ago? I'm asking this question here. If you look at right, it says what happened in the war between Iran and Israel a few days ago. You can see it searching the web, and you can see searching the web. Let me search the most recent information. I already have given acts, like when you're running it for the first time, it will ask about to give access to the tool. You can see it fetches all the information. And I'm using Claude. You can use other models if you want. This is the only free model I have. Okay, so you can see this is what it is. Now, what other recent event that has happened? Okay, uh, give me, or you can also define, you can also specify use Tabulai search tool to fetch latest world news. Now, when I do that, you can see use Tabulai search tool to, you can see it's showing you the specification, Tabulai search, query latest world news today topic. You can see it gives you this, blah, blah, blah. Here it used its own web search. It didn't use Tabulai for the first question I asked, because Claude Sonnet 4 now has access to on Claude. It has access to web search, but that is fine. You can you can also specify it. But it does, if it does not have it through own web search, it can use the Tabulai search that we have it over here. If you look at this Tabulai MCP web search, so this is an example. So this Claude environment that you see, Claude, it's by Anthropic. This becomes an MCP client for me. This is your uh, this becomes a host which has an inbuilt MCP client. And if you go to file, settings, on developer, you can find Teveli MCP. If you click on edit config, it's going to open this, and we can open this. I'm not going to open this here in Windsurf, but yeah, because I want to show you this. Now, Claude Desktop, it becomes an MCP client, And in this case, the tool, I use Tavelai MCP server. If you click on Tavelai MCP server, this is what I used. You can see it says allows you to use Tavelai API in your MCP client. Very simple to use. You can see compatible with both Cursor and Claude desktop. It's compatible with any MCP client. We can also build our own. This is what I've shown you, right? This is how we did blah blah blah. This is how you can install it. So you go back to my PDF here. This is a high level overview. It can be database, it can be external applications, it can be file system. Locally also it can access it, if you want to do that. Now, where are we really using in the industry, right? It's very important for us to understand. So, we can categorize this into three different categories. One is local access or external data integration. I just shown you one of the example with Tavelai that were part of external data integration, where we, kind of discovered or fetched some information from web. It can also have local access to our file systems. It can also do that. It can also execute tasks, by the way, if you have given permission to do that. So you can see it over here. Now, Claude is a very good tool as an MCP client, but then we also have on Mac something called code name Goose. I also like Goose here. You can see this is what I've been using. A very lightweight, minimal application. Again, the application layer that I talked about. On the development side, we also use MCP server heavily because we can use GitHub MCP server, we can use Playwright for testing, we can use a lot of other things, over there. And these IDEs that you see, Cursor, Windsurf, and Tray, they act like an MCP client, in that case. And then we can use MCP servers over here. You can see fetching websites, git logs, and test output. Playwright is a very famous MCP server, that we can talk about. Now, but the enterprises are also using it. So they are pulling CRM information, like let's say Apollo MCP or HubSpot or Jira, Confluence, SharePoint, Teams, all these because they are need in an enterprise setting. So the bigger organizations, they are also using MCP heavily, but they are using probably not that so for development because cursor and stuff are banned, in a lot of bigger enterprises. They are not allowed to use. So they can't use that, but they are using it in their own application that or the tools that they are building, right? Now we talk about standardization on MCP side. I told you MCP server has three things: tools, resources, and prompts. You can see it says MCP abstract these into a uniform access model for agents. So you have client and server. And let me show you what I mean by that. Like, so if you see here, let me go to Windsurf. You can see I have a folder called MCP Wiki, a very simple MCP server here. I'm using, I have built a simple MCP server that fetches Wikipedia information. I'm using here fast MCP. You can see a library to kind of build MCP server or also clients. Okay. Now we define a tool. We can define a tool through decorator. So you can see I'm having here @MCP tool. This is what I was talking about, guys. If you look at here, it's fetching this documentation when I hover over this. This is nothing but JSON RPC 2.0. This is language server protocol, LSP, that VS Code or Windsurf or Cursor, any IDEs, because they're all built on VS Code. So that's how you use it. So if you look at here, right, this is what it is. Now, here I have a function called read Wikipedia article that takes URL as a string. It uses beautiful soup to kind of fetches some information and gives you markdown information here if you see this. Very simple MCP solver, right? And I just ran that. What I did, I ran MCP dev and server.py. Because why I use dev? Because I want to use MCP inspector, because where I want to test my MCP locally. So you can see it's running on port 6274, and you have to get your session token that comes from when you run it for the first time. You can find out this session token. So copy this and paste into proxy session token and just connect. You can see mine is connected. Let's take a simple Wikipedia article. You know, uh, shall we take, yeah, let's take this only. And If you look at on the top, we have resources, prompts, and tools. If you click on prompt, I don't have any prompts. If I click list prompt, it will just throw error because I don't have anything. Resources, I don't have anything, so it will show nothing. But when I do for tools, you can see I already have read Wikipedia article. Request timed out. This is fine. I just click on run. If it works, it's fine. There's something going wrong, but that should be okay. Here in the URL, you have to give. I think I have to restart this because session would have expired. But once you run it, because yeah, request timeout, it fetches you this information and you can find it out over here. You can receive post message. Yeah, this is fine. So this is MCP inspector where you have resources, prompts, and tools. We can define these things into our code also here within fast MCP. The way just defined through decorators. You can see I have defined tool as a decorator. You can define prompts, resources, and everything. So it has a server has these three things: tools, resource, prompts in a very it just create high level abstraction, guys, for us. That's it. Okay, now on the architecture side, this is how it looks like. I told you MCP server, we have host applications, the client, it has protocol layer and transport layer. Same goes with server, but server also has tools, context, prompt, resources, as I talked about the other capabilities that they have. But protocol and transport layer, so the information has been exchanged through JSON RPC 2.0, JSON remote procedure 2.0. The way, as I said, it's built on, it uses three different things. Let's talk about it. The transport mechanisms. The transport mechanisms are three different types: standard input output, HTTP with server side streamable. Let me show it over here. You can see these transport types, which is important. Then we'll come back here. Now, standard input output transport. When you are building local MCP, like if I am using, let me go back here, MCP inspector. If you look at the transport type, we have three different things: standard input output, SSC, and streamable HTTP, which is the newest one. I think it came a month and a half ago. But standard input output, when we are working with local MCP server, because see, I'm not using any remote servers over here, right? This is running locally. But if you are using any remote server, like let's say Tavelai, this thingy, when you use this as a configuration in your configure.json file, then this uses HTTP with SSC. This is what it uses, HTTP with SSC. When you are using remote, if you are running it locally, then it uses standard input output transport. You can see, standard input output streams ideal for local process communication, used in command line tools and integrations, limited to same machine operations, as I said, because it has to run locally. Now, server sent events, SSC, I said server side, my bad. Server sent events are for server client streaming. The responses are streaming, where we do HTTP post for client server messages. It enables remote MCP servers like Tavelai MCP server or GitHub MCP server and whatnot. Requires maintaining constant connection state because connection also breaks. Like if you look at here, it says request timeout. That's one of the issues. Oh, that should be fine. We'll take care of it. The new one, March 2025. So it released 3 months back. Is streamable HTTP. Enables stateless server architecture. No requirement for long-term connection, which is really important. More flexible for cloud and serverless deployment. Ideal for modern web architecture patterns. So you can see the key benefits over here. I've taken it from some slides by Anthropic. But yeah, this is how the architecture looks like, right, on the transport side. So keep that in mind. How to build is really important, right? So we have two ways to build it. One is through code and the other is by not writing code. So when you are not writing code, like let's say, I want to use some automation platform or some kind of platform. So you can use N10, you can use Zapier MCP. Zapier MCP is also very famous. If you click on Zapier MCP, you can see it says connect your AI to any app with Zapier MCP. So you can use that as well, Zapier MCP. Or N10, like here I am using. So let me just show you as a tool. Or I have to create a new workflow, but I'm just going to show you here. If you write MCP, you can see we have MCP client tool. We have to create a workflow as a server first if you want to build your own server, but you can also bring remote servers. So let me just add this. The moment you add it, you can see it's because it's on SSC remote. You can see it says server sent event. You can see it says endpoint of your MCP server. So you have to give it over here. If it has any authentication, you have to give authentication. I'm just going to delete that for now. You can see save, and again that should be fine if I just clean this. Now, so you can use N10, you can use Zapier, you can also use as a connectors are also available. They're a bit different, but it's available on OpenAI as you can find it out over here. Now, how to build, right, through program, because most of us are like developers where we want to kind of build stuff by writing code. So we have libraries like Fast MCP. Golf is also really good. Golf MCP, which have good stuff. So you can also have a look at that. And of course, the official SDK is by Anthropic and other things. You can also use that. Now, some demos, which is important. Let me show you a few things, right? Now, I'll just go back to the next slide and come back here. MCP directory or marketplace, because if you're finding out a lot of MCPs, you can find it out over here. It has tons of MCP. It's called Glama MCP directory. It says your number one platform for discovering every MCP server, clients, and modes. If you go up, you can find out here. You can search also. Like let's say if I'm searching, uh, you can see if you clicked on open source MCP server, it has around 6,000 plus servers. That's huge, right? We can build almost everything using this. Some of the, let's go down, find out something interesting here. Let me see if it has playwright. I hope it should has playwright. Yeah, you can see playwright MCP server. So click on playwright MCP server. You can just install server. You can give your HTTP connection URL also. You can see playwright has been used to kind of, it's for QA teams testing mainly. You can see it has browser automation capabilities. So you can use playwright. You can see in code in here they are using it in Claude for desktop. Okay, in Claude for desktop has some issues, guys. To be honest, uh, I don't know if that works, but I'm gonna try it out. If you should I do global install? I'm not sure about it because it needs Chromium. Playwright needs the modern browser. I don't have that, but that should be fine. So let's say just you install it, and then you need to configure. So you have to go to your uh, Claude for desktop as a client, or let's say you go to Windsurf or whatever, and then you have to do it. You can see it over here, right? It will not install in my because I have some permission denied access for MCP, but Playwright MCP, but that should be fine in your case. So you can just follow this and get it done in your own machine. But yeah, this is one of the examples. So Glama is fantastic. Have a look at Glama. MCP directory. I really like them because they have open source, everything is free to use, you don't have to pay anything. You can also add your own server. So you just click on add new MCP server and you can add it over here. That is also really cool, right? Now, do I have my own MCP server ever listed? Let me see. I don't think so. So bad, then I have to add something here. Okay. I do remember that I had something. Yeah, that's fine. Now come back here. Now, before that I go into this, let me show you a lot of tools are now supporting MCP. Even VS Code has MCP servers for you. You can see MCP servers for agent mode. You can use that with, let's say, GitHub Copilot, because GitHub Copilot is now also available for free, of course, with limitations, but in VS Code. So you can also use with that. You can see Playwright is also available. And you can see they have developer tools where we have access to GitHub, Figma, Playwright, Sentry, Microsoft Docs, DeepWiki for fetching information about some famous GitHub repositories, Hugging Face, access model datasets and spaces, Context 7, which is fantastic, right, for up-to-date documentations. Productivity, we have Notion on VS Code, Zapier, Atlassian. What do we else need here? We have everything. On PostHog, we have fantastic Firecrawl for crawling web, DuckDB for DB. Businesses, we have Stripe, PayPal. Oh wow, we have PayPal. That's fantastic. And Claude. So we have everything on VS Code also that we need and to build it. On Docker also we have. So if you come to Docker Desktop, you can see it has MCP Playwright as an image that we can use. You can see MCP Playwright, fantastic. Docker pull MCP Playwright, and that become available. an extension. I don't have any. My extension is 0. You can see no extension installed. Yeah, but we can install that on Docker desktop also. So that's really good. So I saw new Glama, I saw new VS Code, I saw new Docker. It's available everywhere, guys, right? You can search on GitHub also on MCP servers. So this is great. Let me just close this here quickly. All right. Okay. Now coming back to this. MCP has security issues. Of course, you know, it has pros and cons, right? Everything has pros and cons. These are some of the security concerns. Tool poisoning, tool name conflict is also one of the examples. Tool name conflict. Let's say Tevlai MCP is the official one, and I create something called MCP Tevlai where I have written malicious code, and the code that can access your computer, can delete some files, or can enforce some kind of policies. That can be anything. So it has tool name conflicts. It has tool poisoning. You can see it's over here, and config sends to attacker. They can also steal your API keys, right, by reading .envs, let's say, in that sense. Spoofing, you can see modified MCP get staller. This is also very important. You can see deleting files via user message field. Token theft, as I said, API keys and whatnot, and a lot of other things, database accesses and everything. So it has security issues, it has flaws, but now things are getting improved. Anthropic is coming up with MCP sampling. Please read about it. That's really a good concept. So you can read about sampling here. You can see it says sampling is a powerful MCP feature that allows servers to request LLM completions through the client, enabling sophisticated agentic behaviors while maintaining security and privacy. So that's really good, right? I like this. It yet not supported in Claude desktop client and a lot of other things. It's a coming feature. But read about sampling if you're interested about MCP. As like me, I like MCP. Uh, to cater these security concerns, guys, we have done some work. Uh, our work on security concern, we have this something called MCP Guardian, a security first layer for safeguarding MCP based AI systems. You can read about this paper here. This is the paper this is the updated one that is available on archive also, and we also published this in some conference. I kind of cannot remember right now, but yeah, it talks about the framework that we propose to kind of solve this. I also have a physical copy, of course. You can see it over here, MCP. So read about it. This very simple framework. Let me just show this probably if I just make this bigger. System architecture, right? If you look at this over here, so it says MCP tool call sequence. Let's say we have an LLM client. This client can be anything. It can be your agentic IDEs, that can be Claude for desktop, that can be your own file program, MCP client, whatever. Now you send a JSON request because you talked about JSON RPC, right? Tool to a tool server, and tool will execute a lot of things or at their end. So I'm not going into that. So that act through tool function. Now we have a middleware that that we named it MCP Guardian. There is other library also which we don't own it. Credit to that creators who own MCP Guardian, but we kind of created this paper before them, I believe. So we have MCP Guardian where we have a middleware. Now in the middleware, we have a few features. That time there was no sampling and nothing like that. This is like 3 months back when we proposed this. Authentication, we have rate limiting. And these are some of the examples. We have more. Logging and observability, and WAF, web application firewall scanning. Based on the JSON request, it goes through internal validation step and then finds out if it's a valid request. If it's a valid request, then we also have abuse detection. If it's a valid request, it goes to tool server and fetches the information. And then if it's not a valid, if it's like something, it also has a blocked request over here, and also the response coming up, it also has a blocked request. So very simple architecture. We proposed MCP Guardian as a middleware for establishing connection with a server and a client. That's what we did. You can read about it. Very simple. In a very simple language, we have written this. You can find out this research. We keep doing research. This is part of our AI Anytime community. The same video, that channel name AI Anytime. We have a community also on Discord, on WhatsApp, and now also physically based out of Hyderabad, right? So we kind of keep doing research work. So this is our work on security. You can see the same image. I have it over here. Now, before I wrap this up, right, we have new standards for AI communication. Because MCP just the start, we'll have 100 of other things coming up in near future, right? So you can see we have something called A to A, which was by Google, agent to agent, which has latency issue, which is really slow. Uh, you know, uh, it's good, but A to A is more for agent to agent. You can see it's MCP, what I know, A to A, who I am talking to and why, and then we have ACP, not Assistant Commissioner of Police, but Agent Communication Protocol. Andrew Ng has kind of come up with a course also with some other collaborators or something. I was seeing a image, uh, but ACP is more like a grammar teacher. Like let's say if I'm learning English and new to learning English, ACP will tell me, this is how the grammar looks like. It will define all the grammars, all the rules. That's what ACP does. Okay, you can see it says standardized dialogue structure. Multi-agent coordination is example use case, but ACP is more of defining the set of protocols or rules that how agents should communicate. That's what ACP is. Okay, if you're interested, you can see grammar for AI messages. A to A is more Slack for bots, right, which has agent to agent communication. And then we have MCP. You can see it says share memory context, personalized assistance, clipboard plus memory stick, blah blah blah. Some simple analogy. So read about MCP, A to A, ACP protocols, if you're interested. This is the official MCP roadmap. I talked about sampling, but these are some of the examples also that you can explore. Governance is really important. If you are someone who works for an enterprise, you are a thought leader or like let's say or a part of a leadership team, then you should first think about governance. Let the kids play on the POC side. Okay, that will not take you anywhere. AI governance is really important if you want to build something big, and that can create some ROIs, or if you are working in that sense. So that's important. So we're gonna look at registry. So you can also have centralized MCP registry, as you can see, that will have metadata, that will have versioning, and so on and so forth. Validation we talked about, the security aspect of it. So we have an agent thing coming up right now. It does not have that. You can see interactive workflow. That is fine. I'm not going to go in. And multimodality, right? That's a big challenge. So we're going to look at videos and other media types. So this is what it is, guys, about it. I hope I have covered a few things. Yeah. Now, what should you do after this? After watching this video, you should visit model context protocol.io. This one, and this is also you can find out. You can see this. Get started with model context protocol. Official one. You can see USB-C port for AI applications. Try the SDKs. You should try the SDKs. The official SDKs is available in Python, JavaScript, Rust, Golang also, if I'm not wrong. So check that out and use n8n. I recommend using n8n for building automation workflows and also working with MCP server and clients. Build and consume a server. That's what you should do. And of course, thank you so much for your attention. I know it's a bit of lengthy video, but I wanted to cover this complete slides because I recently did a workshop on MCP that was a bit more detailed. That was a 90 minutes workshop because there was more interactions and questions and brainstorming. And I also did a bit of more on the coding side where I created on live. But here, just to save some time on the video, I just wanted to give you a walkthrough because there's already an MCP playlist on my channel. So if you go to, let's say AI anytime, right? Come to videos, go to playlist. We have this MCP playlist where we have around 22 videos. So watch those videos if you want to, of course, deep dive. And you can watch other YouTubers also. That should be completely fine if you're not interested in this. But yeah, do something. That's the message. Uh, that's all. If I can give you this link of this slide if you want. Go through it. You might use this in your presentation if you want to use by adding few stuff and let me know what you are doing with this. But yeah, That's what I want to do in this video, guys. I hope you got a bit of understanding about model context protocol and what to do with this. If you have any question, thoughts, or feedbacks, let me know in the comment box. You can also reach out to me through my social media channels. Find the information on channel banner and channel about us. If you like the video, please hit the like icon. If you haven't subscribed the channel yet, please do subscribe the channel, guys. That motivates me to create more such videos in your future. That's all for this video. Thank you so much for watching. See you in the next one.